starting to lose control. And as you said, they may have gotten a little arrogant at one point. Whose responsibility is it now to put that back into place? Should the head coach say, hey, coordinator, I don't like what you're running. I want you to run the ball. I don't care what you have on your play sheet. Or do you let the coordinator work through it? Whose responsibility is that?
Well, at game time, if you feel like you need to speak up and say that, you do. You don't like to unless you absolutely have to, but usually that's a discussion. Now, afterwards, he's going to get with Kubiak, I'm sure, and they'll review that. And Kubiak knows he's made a mistake here. You can see the results of it. And he's young. He's going to make those mistakes. But as a head coach, I intervened one time on defense. We had him, Miami, we had him, I think it was 3rd and 20. And I said, I'll go ahead and blitz him. We might get it out of his hand and get a field goal out of this thing. They threw a touchdown at. So that's the last time I meddled in defense.
Love it that you remember those fine details too, Coach. Let's bring it back around to Cooper Kupp. Obviously, in Week 4 against the Cardinals, they were able to bottle him up. Only 5 catches for 64 yards. From an offensive standpoint, what do the Rams need to do coming up on Monday night to free up Cooper Kupp?
Well, I think they really need to get pressure on the quarterback. You know, I'm talking about Arizona does, and then Cooper, if he gets isolated, he's the best one-on-one guy in the league right now. But they've got to bottle him up with their speed. You know, they've got to get somebody on him that can carry him in one-on-one and then show zone and disguise as much as you can. But, you know, the Cardinals run the ball so doggone well. That's hard to do.
I think it's worth asking from a standpoint of seeing a team a second time, how much do you expect in terms of offensive play calling that maybe the Rams didn't use the first time around?
Well, you get a lot on your card that you don't use the first time around. You can roll that over. But teams do morph and change during the season between the last time you played them. There's different guys that are up, you know, for both teams. And so the personnel may change somewhat. You know, I think this game's going to come down to just the quarterbacks, how well Stafford plays and how well Kyler Murray plays. Stafford's just got to play the game of his life, you know, to beat these guys. He can't have those bad throws or those errant throws. And I don't know if his hands hurt or what, but he's got to play well.
Hey, Mike, moving forward, not to second guess anyone, but what do you see the Rams have to do to improve to get to the final dance?
You know, Ron and I have talked about this, and I've been critical of their defense. I just think with all the talent that they have over there, they've got to get guys free to make plays. You know, they've got a great corner who sits inside covering tight ends and backs, and it drives me nuts. You know, they don't put him on their best receiver. You got to get guys free on the quarterback, one-on-one on linemen like they did a year ago. They're very vanilla and basic. With that kind of talent, it's like putting a Mercedes in a garage and driving a Volkswagen somehow. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I think on offense, Stafford, if he'll play well, regardless of what happens on defense, they'll win. You know, look at the games that they've lost. If he plays really well, they come back against Green Bay and they're in at the end, as bad as they looked early. But if he can do what he's supposed to do, I think that they get a great chance of beating him. I really do. But he's got to play the game of his life.
Ron Pitts, the key to every game against the Cardinals is also keeping Kyler Murray contained. It's going to be a big task for the Rams defense. They couldn't do it when they needed to most back in Week 4. We know the Cardinals, they can sling the ball with Kyler Murray, but the Rams also struggled to stop the Cardinals on the ground last time these teams met.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I get to cheat a little because Mike Martz is my podcast partner, Run It Again podcast. We do it every week. So we go over all this stuff. And we've been able to talk a lot about Kyler Murray. And the big thing about Kyler Murray is to try to keep him in the pocket. Now, the Rams didn't do a great job of that game 1. And that's why they were able to rack up so many yards. Remember, you have to think about this guy as a running back first and a quarterback second, and right now he's doing both great, and that's why this team is winning. But you also have the other pieces in place. So you got the running back, Connors, you got Edmonds, and then you've got the wide receiver. It's just a lot of issues out there on that field. But we used to call this mush rush, where we would rush at him but not let him bounce outside. Keep coming, squeeze the pocket, but don't let him do that right there. And that's where he starts to hurt you. And the Green Bay Packers, in their game in Week 8, were able to do a pretty good job of that. They were able to attack him, but yet, as you can see here, stay in their lane, so to speak. So they're coming up the field, but each rusher is staying in his area of the field. There's 2 guys inside, 2 guys outside. And you see he's got no place to go. Remember, he's not the tallest quarterback. You know, he's barely 5'10". So a lot of people think that if you can make him throw in the pocket, he's going to have issues. And those are the kind of issues that the Rams want to force on Sunday.
You know, Ron, I agree with you. That must rush is absolutely critical for the very mobile and agile quarterback. And sometimes even put a spy on that guy, a quick, athletic guy designated to run him down if he does come out of the pocket. But another thing that was very evident to me as I saw this game before and looked at it, I thought to myself, one thing that has to happen the next time the Rams play these guys is that they have got to be able to stop the run.
Absolutely.
Now, the Cardinals ran the football 40 times against the Rams, and they used a variety of different plays. That right there was a counter where they pulled the backside guard and tackle and insert them off the edge on the right side. There's another sweep where they're getting out in the perimeter, getting out of the heart of that defense. Now, the interesting thing about all of this running that the Cardinals were doing is you got to understand that most of the offensive linemen outweigh Aaron Donald about 20 pounds or so. Aaron weighs about 280. Most of these guys are 300 plus. So these guys are leaning and pushing on Aaron. And all of the rest of the defensive linemen, they're just pounding these guys and not letting them do what they do very best, and that's rush the quarterback. I think that if Kyler Murray is put in a situation where he's sitting in the pocket and trying to throw the football, that they are going to struggle and the Rams will eat their lunch consistently. But if they run the football, if they let Rodney Hudson and that no-name group of offensive linemen that they've been featuring all this season dominate them at the line of scrimmage, the Rams are going to have a tough go of it, and Cliff Kingsbury is going to be walking around acting like he owned the world because he beat the Rams twice. Stopping the run in this game is key, in my opinion, if the Rams are to have a chance to beat them.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
you can't underestimate this team, actually. It's Kyler Murray. He can throw from the pocket as well. He's got 3 great targets. They didn't have Zach Ertz last time. They've got DeAndre Hopkins. They got Green. They got their running backs in stride right
Connor.
now. It's a full offense, just like Mike had when he was with the Rams.
Exactly, Vince. Mike, can you talk about that? I mean, it feels like that team you had down the greatest show on turf in St. Louis with Marshall Faulk there at running back, and then you had Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Isaac Hakeem. How could you stop those people?
Well, the hardest people to play against are the gap control, or the guys that fire gaps. Basically the cover 2 that Tampa Bay played so much of, that front where they shoot gaps and penetrate. That's the whole philosophy. They're so disruptive, not just in the running game, but they get up into the quarterback's face as well. The Rams are more readers. You can see them latch on and find the ball. And with their great speed and athleticism, I would just love to see them stunt and get into gaps and go. I think they'd be so disruptive. To me, those are the teams with 4 down that are so disruptive, is when they get into gaps and they just try to get what we call a jet charge and go like crazy and be as disruptive as you can. And that's what knocks off pullers, et cetera.
Coach, very much appreciate the time coming on here on Sportswrap, but we can't let you go without a prediction. What do you expect to unfold, and maybe a score prediction? Who wins come Monday night?
Well, I think the Rams will win this game.
Ooh.
I think they probably had to come to Jesus in that locker room. I like the head coach. I know he knows how to recover. I think it's going to come down to Stafford playing a great game. I think he'll play a great game. Regardless of some of the other things, I think the Rams will win this thing.
Love the insight from one of the greatest offensive minds in the NFL. You're welcome back here anytime, Coach Marcus.
Thanks, Mike.
Good seeing you, Mike.
All right.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
we hit another break here on Sports Wrap. When we come back, the Chargers have had some major COVID issues ahead of their game against the Giants coming up on Sunday. We'll tell you the latest on who's playing and who's not. Plus, we're heading to Thousand Oaks to practice and check on the Rams. It's next on Sports Wrap.